Thank you for joining us today for our workshop, Future Pathways, Crisis Communication and Media Training with Ellen McDonald. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy Liao. I go by she, her. I am an Asian American woman in her 40s with a short ponytail, wearing a beige shirt with a burnt orange jacket and a virtual background with some plants in the back. I am the Organizational Services Program Officer here at Mid-America Arts Alliance. Welcome, everyone. There's so much coming at us right now, and it can feel overwhelming at times. And it is with that acknowledgement, I thank you all for setting aside the time and choosing to share space with us today. We here at Mid-America Arts Alliance believe in strengthening and supporting artists, cultural organizations, and communities throughout our region and beyond. We're a regional arts organization representing Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. Like I mentioned before, I am the Organizational Services Program Officer here. I'm representing our division here at Mid-America. And through our programming, we offer combinations of workshops, coach consultations, and peer-to-peer learning opportunities to work with arts leaders to govern more effectively, to become more fiscally astute, and develop strategies to address community needs. The Future Pathway series and today's workshop came out of a need we heard from arts ecosystem conversations across our region. With that, I'd like to introduce our facilitator for today, Ellen McDonald. Ellen has 25 plus years of experience in nonprofit management, marketing, communications, public relations, and training. She has been a consultant and partner of Mershon and McDonald Creative Communication Strategies. Did I pronounce that correctly, Ellen?
Close
Awesome.
enough. It's fine. It's good.
And she's been working at the firm since 1997. In this role, Ellen has helped create and implement many highly successful communications and public relation programs in the Kansas City area and beyond. Today, her consulting firm works with businesses, nonprofit, and philanthropic communities on awareness and branding campaigns, nonprofit management issues, community relations, marketing communication, board leadership training, and media relations. Her leadership and guidance on crisis communication have included board leadership, employees and volunteer training, development of crisis communication plans, and providing real-time leadership for organizations during a crisis. So without further ado, I am handing the Zoom over to Ellen. Welcome, Ellen.
Hello. It is a delight to be here, even virtually. It's not my favorite. I'm just going to say that out front. I much prefer being in a room together, but that's not going to happen. So I want to make sure that you feel like your time today with us is well spent and that you leave with some real hands-on tools that you feel that you can actually start using almost immediately. That is my goal. With that in mind, what I would like to do, because I'm guessing that you joined today because there's something going on. Probably the tell was the email you got from Mid-America a couple of weeks ago asking for the big takeaway and what's that 3 a.m. worry. I wanted to be able to get a sense of where everybody was and that I was going to try to meet you where you were and give you something tangible to that end. So with that in mind, we've structured today in such a way that I hope will be useful for everybody. I've not done it with this big a crowd, but I want to be useful. So the first 45 minutes, I'm just going to talk at you. I don't know how else to describe this, but I want to make sure that my lexicon meets your lexicon and that this is the fundamental, these are the very foundational roots of how to move forward during a crisis with regard to communication. And that this is the foundation that we can all agree that we are all met at this place. And then the next half of our time together, we are going to, in a very creative way, I am sure I have full confidence in Kathy and Peter's ability to manage all the hands and such. I want to be able to answer your questions in real time. I want to be able to answer your questions as specific as you care to share them. I think it goes without saying, I believe this to be a very safe space. I am in awe of all of you. There is no doubt about it. You are doing immensely important work that I'm not sure you even realized a few years ago how important this work would be. Its significance is really quite staggering sometimes. And that certainly came through in the feedback with concerns about feeling overwhelmed and burnt out and trying to figure out a way forward in managing all the things coming at you. So to that end, I hope you feel safe and comfortable enough in sharing whatever it is that is keeping you up at 3 a.m. or what it is that brought you today to our shared space. And that way that I can be as specific as I can possibly be, with the belief that whatever you're going through, there's quite a few others who are probably who can relate to exactly what you're going through. So that way it feels like a bit of a consultation, a little bit of something, hands-on. But to that end, I also did want to offer, I am happy to be a resource at no expense for anyone on this call today that wants to follow up with something specific and have a brief helpful conversation about how to move forward with wherever you are in that particular point in time. So that's the plan. Let's see how it works. So to that end, you are going to be getting the deck here. So, but if you feel like you need to write notes and things, go for it. That's fine. I just want to make sure that you understand you can actively listen and make notes about questions or thoughts or comments or disagree with me. Please, whatever you want to share would be great. So let us dive in. All right. First response to a crisis. One thing I do want to point out is that we are all going to be dealing with this if we haven't already. I'm not even counting COVID because that's just this huge outlier. I mean, a global pandemic, right? I mean, who'd have thunk it? But with regard to a crisis in real time, have you thought about how you were going to respond? Do you know even what the first impulses of things that you want to do? Do you contact your boss? Do you get your crisis team organized? Do you even have a crisis team? Do you call the media? Do you proactively call the media? Or you know what? Do you just hide or get under your desk and say, I can't, this is overwhelming? All of those have some realm of rationality and even, I would say, accuracy at the moment. They are all fair game. However, this document hopefully will give you a way to put the emotions and the panic aside and be able to think about logically, how do I move forward? So the answer, you call together your pre-planned crisis response team. We'll dive into that a bit later. You pull out your crisis manual. Again, that's in here as well. But again, kind of reflecting what Kathy said, we are all human, right? We all know life is messy. You need to give yourself grace, and you need to understand that as somebody who's overseeing or playing a critical role in this crisis with communications internally and externally, that you are flexible, that you are responsive in real time to what's happening around you, and you are strategic. And when I say strategic, I mean that you are thinking not in the tactical, but in the bigger picture of what is our overall goal. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So they're real. They're everywhere. And my heart goes out to each and every one of you because I know, well, I know that who would have thought that working in the arts would be seen as so having such challenges these days, but here we are. So I want to make sure that you are identifying the kinds of crises that are coming or could be coming, and that you feel as equipped as you possibly can on how to move forward. We're going to go talk a little bit about the checklist that you want to talk about, that we're in terms of how to move forward. We want to make sure that you can define a crisis, because you cannot live in a constant state of crisis. I'm going to say that again. You cannot live in a constant state of crisis. Everything cannot always be on fire. It can't. So you and your job are going to have to determine what you're able to do for those in your situation. I will tell you, I'm going to say this. If you take nothing away from our time today, I want it to be, you cannot be all things to all people. All right. But you can be supportive of your mission. All right. So you can stay true to that bigger strategy that I was talking about, and what I call in the work I do, I call my North Star. So you have to define for yourself, as you're looking at the situation, the landscape around you, is this really a crisis? Is this going to impact my North Star, the reason that I am here? So you need to be able to manage that. So trying to provide some context here, because the hair cannot always be on fire. To that end, the second thing, a crisis response team, you need to figure out who operationally, internally, and externally serving your audiences needs to be at the table as big decisions are being made about how to move forward. Part of your job is avoiding surprises. So who in your world needs to not be surprised by whatever it is you're doing? That's another way to look at it, but you also want to keep it small so it's nimble. You know, nobody needs a committee Zoom to make a decision about some of this stuff. You need to be able in real time to be able to meet with these people. That being said, you need to be able to establish procedures. Likely you already have some of them to some degree, about how you move forward. You already probably have the fire drills and safety and security drills. You might even have shooter drills and things of that nature. So you probably already have ways of keeping the immediate safety of those in your circle of, in your world, your sphere of influence, safe. So those are a good starting point to be able to look to review to how to create what those procedures could be, even in a larger context. Collecting media relations information. So this is I know that on this call we have folks who are very small and, you know, with a paper clip and a Mylar balloon are trying to keep the doors open, and those who have a much, much bigger operating budget. That being said, I hope that there is some means of collecting a media list of key people in your world that you need to, that can help you get the message out. And I believe we've talked, when I did this last fall, Kathy, that didn't we talk about that there could be some possible resources that Mid-America could offer with regard to media lists or things like, did we not talk? Anyway, let's parking lot that one for now.
Okay.
Anyway, but somehow or another there needs to, I'm not talking about this huge Excel thing or spend $5,000 from an agency to get, you know, if you've got it, great, that's fine. But if you have, if the very least, if an intern, if somebody on the board can dedicate a couple of hours to identifying, let's say 12 of the top media outlets in your market, in your area, who would you want to talk to at these outlets that could help get the information out in real time? And if you did that and that nothing else, you'd already be steps ahead. Preparing key documents, I'll talk about that a little bit later. I do have an infographic that might be helpful to you. It can be overwhelming. It's not a necessarily complete list, and you may look at this list and go, that's fine. It's just, if nothing else, it's a way to review and possibly decide for yourself what works for you. Okay, so here's the thing. Before COVID and everything, a crisis in my professional world was a fire, let's see, maybe a shooting, maybe some internal leadership kerfuffle, crisis thing, etc., which are still all, unfortunately, parts of our daily life, certainly looking at the headlines. And then in the last, I'll say 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, it's evolved that there is what I am calling an institutional crisis. And that is, boy, these are the ones that I think that are probably causing the burnout and the additional stress, is the idea that you're just this barrage, right? As you're trying to execute and fulfill and address your mission and serve, the ability to do so is challenged left and right from bad actors and whomever. And so there's that they're this constant barrage, which makes it very hard to continue to move forward. But it is what I would describe as an institutional crisis, because suddenly the landscape is very different and the rules have all just been thrown up in the air. So those are the two that I'm trying to address. In that regard, these still apply for both the surprise, the immediate, where safety and security is the top priority, and the more institutional crisis, which is this barrage, I guess, of challenges. So everything I'm sharing with you today should be of help. Let's talk about crisis. Is there ever really a good time? No, it's like being a parent, right? You just get to a point, it just is. You wake up, sometimes you think you're ready, and then I mean, I'll own it. I do this for a living, did not see global pandemic. And nobody had a rule book, which actually, that's another topic, but actually was amazingly freeing. But at the time, at the moment, there was free fall for, I think, for all of us. But that being said, being nimble and flexible, is getting back to what I said earlier, is absolutely critical. Lack of information. Oh boy, isn't that the truth? Or I would say also a plethora of really bad information, rumors, social media, all the kinds of things, but certainly clarity of accurate information. Lack of clarity is a big challenge. Things escalating. Social media is definitely a part of this as well. Trying to keep things in perspective, trying to keep a context and a lid on things so you can take a breath and work internally can be especially challenging. And yes, we have all, many of us, I'm sure, certainly I have, where the media is at your door and you are not ready. They're coming at you hot and you are not ready. And that is certainly not anything that you don't want to be in a position where you're reactive. So hopefully today we can help you be a little more proactive and a little more ready, a little more, hopefully prevent some of these things from happening. Yes, feeling of loss of control. Yes, I think we've all touched upon that. And you definitely feel the scrutiny, not only from your board and those who report to you, but also the community that you serve, and of course the outlets and those who are looking to see what you're doing and are. I will even go on a limb and say are oftentimes very quick to criticize without knowing the full picture. And that can make your job especially challenging, which of course then can lead to a siege mentality where you just want to really crawl under your desk going, guys, this is just, I can't, it's overwhelming. I get that. In Europe, you're allowed to crawl into a closet. I've done it. And yes, tempers can flare, panic can hit. Having a calm demeanor, I cannot tell you how important it is to count to 10 and to find a way to remind yourself to be present in the moment, and find whatever tools you can to put the blinders on to be able to allow you to focus on what's ahead. So these are the things, probably didn't, I want to highlight them because and acknowledge that they are definitely, yes, that they are definitely, they're present. Yes. Coping and controlling. I understand that Mid-America has some additional resources on how to help support. Yes, Kathy's nodding. And I absolutely encourage you to avail yourself of these resources. If nothing else, than to make you aware. We all know how lovely it is to be validated, that we're not alone in thinking like this, and that even just sharing, knowing that you're in this club of whatever, your fresh hell that you're in, that you're not alone. It means a lot. So, and I know I can only imagine the specifics. I may actually check that out myself of what the Mid-America has to offer. So that being said, you're not alone. There are resources and folks and networks out there to support you. So avail yourself of them. All right. Let's dig in a little bit. All right. When you're in the middle of a crisis in the short term, it does take priority. Again, this gets back to what I said earlier. Your hair cannot be on fire all the time. It just can't. But if there is an immediate concern that regards to the safety and security of those around you, then you need to be able to focus on that. And that takes priority. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. I would say to you at this moment, this is what I mentioned earlier about North Star. When I say North Star, I mean when every day in your working world, there's a reason you're there. There's a reason you got out of bed. There's a reason you showed up wherever you are to do what you do. And you need to be cognizant of that reason, not necessarily just personally and professionally, but in terms of the institution. Why is this institution here? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to address? What problem are we trying to solve? Who are we trying to serve? If you can, and this is almost a separate conversation, which I'm happy to have, if you can crystallize it into the North Star of why you are there and use that North Star going forward, you will be fine. Because that will remind you constantly of where you're going. You're going in this direction, and you can, as much as you are supporting the marginalized communities around you or other community partners, and you want to be there for them, you have to take care of the institution. And so whatever that North Star is for you in that moment, you have to put it up there, put Post-it notes, whatever, articulate it, share it, so everybody can get on board with that. So that being said, once you know where your North Star is, then things fall into place. The questions answer themselves. So you have to develop normalcy among the staff, because then it's like, oh, right, okay, this is what we're doing. Right. We're not freaking out about making copies of press releases or whatever. No, we're here to serve our clients in this point in time, to make sure they're safe or make sure they got what they needed, and whatever, it's just a very, very different way of looking at things. That being said, part of your job is as you're going through these real-time situations, is to make note. If you can sort of meta yourself away at 35,000 feet and look down and go, okay, yeah, no, this is not work. We're gonna have to look at this. We got to figure this one out. And that's fine. And just make little notes about something for down the road. Because hopefully after this is over, you'll be in a better position to say, okay, this is what we learned, and this is what we're going to do differently, or these the changes we're going to make institutionally, so this doesn't happen again. So this is some thoughts about who could be on a crisis response team. Your executive director, your board chair, your PR spokesperson, if it is not the executive director or the board chair, the staff management that is directly involved in the crisis, and any other key individuals that you feel are relevant, maybe in the public sector or the private sector, or vendors or contractors that are intimately involved. But you need to have a list. They need to know that there is this crisis response team, and this is the list of the names and the contact information. And then I'm going to say something pretty OG, which is print it out. Print it out. Don't assume you're going to have power. Print it out and maybe make a few copies. So and keep them somewhere safe. And the team. Here's what the team does. Everything is vetted through the team. They need to be the ones that are responsible for gathering all the information, because in their particular world, they're able to access different types of information from different resources. And then you get together, and then you're able to share that, and hopefully be able to figure out what exactly this elephant looks like, right? And be able to paint that picture. You want to be able to, with the crisis team, develop the messages to communicate. We'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. How they're going to respond, confirm who the spokesperson is. Sometimes the spokesperson is not it is better suited to be the person who's directly operationally in charge of the safety and security and the operations of the organization, the building and facilities perhaps, and maybe not. So having that person is in that short term responsible for it. And then, of course, the crisis response is the one that is constantly meeting to review how things have gone, what's the next thing, this is the next development, how are we going to respond as an institution moving forward. And again, I think this is something Mid-America we had talked about, perhaps whoever your spokesperson is. Boy, a couple things. One, they need to be nimble. They need to be articulate. They need to be comfortable with a hot mic and a camera in front of them. And they need to be someone that's trustworthy and professional, that will understand the North Star and be able to speak to that knowledgeably. That's the basis. The rest can be trained, but you need somebody whose judgment you really trust. And then the media training can happen any number of ways, but I think Mid-America, we talked about this. Okay, good point. All right, audiences. So as you're thinking about your procedures, this is kind of a checklist to think about. So it can be as big or small, I don't know, depending on your operations and who you serve, right? Certainly your board, certainly your volunteers, your staff, your donors, certainly the media, in as much as you have a history with them and how you've been able to share information about your programs, events, news, happenings, etc. They are absolutely part of your audiences. Any agencies and government organizations and such that you work with as far as your community partners, absolutely law enforcement, safety, and first responders, such as is warranted for the crisis. And then just kind of a larger idea is the whole notion of stakeholders. And I guess when I say stakeholders and community at large, I mean, who is vested in your success? Who benefits directly or indirectly from the success of your organization? And if you can identify what those groups are, then that I would absolutely include those as part of your audience as well. All right, we got us a wheel. All right, so just one way to think about this, I'm a bit of a visual learner, is that the crisis team is at the center. It's got to be at the center. And then you have the responders who are dealing with the different audiences, the board, the donors, the media, the internal staff and volunteers and such. And then those are on the outside of the wheel. But everything has to go from the crisis team out, and then as the information is filtered back to the responders, who can update the crisis team, and they can adapt as need be. First couple hours, yep, you're not going to know a lot. It's gonna will feel like your hair is on fire. You need to get the team together. You need to gather what is known and what is unknown. What are the questions that you need to have answered in order to move forward? And whom do you call to get that accurate answer? You need to understand, once you know what is known, how it's impacting the staff, volunteers, community funders, et cetera, in terms of how you're going to be responding, right? And we'll talk, there's something up ahead about a short empathetic statement. We'll talk about what you say to the media in just a minute. Information has to be internally shared and through the different layers all the way out into the larger community. So please make sure that staff and board and volunteers internally know before the external audiences. I never want any of you to get a phone call from a major donor, from a major, I don't know, chief of staff of whatever, chief development officer saying, I read about this. Why did I read about this online? How did I not know about this? I don't want ever that to happen to you. The more you engage everybody as you move out, the more that you build in trust and engagement. And also it is a way of vetting. As you're sharing the information, seeing things from their point of view, they may have observations of things that maybe the team had not thought about. So it's a nice way to vet a little bit before it goes out into the world. So please bear that in mind. And please, in the name of all things holy, one spokesperson. Anyone else who gets media requests or who gets DM'd in their Instas or whatever gets referred immediately to that spokesperson. You can only have one voice. Otherwise, you're in a hot mess. Let's not do that. Okay, so you release an official statement saying exactly what you know and what are the next steps and how you're going to be keeping people up to date on what's happening next. You will then notify the partners, the funders, everybody, I mean, as well with a statement, and provide the media with but frequently asked questions and critical organizational documents. Again, I'll have the infographic as well. In as much as you are able to provide in advance information, it will make everybody's life so much easier. Even from, you're going to laugh at me, go ahead, even from making sure that your, what I call asset links are updated and accessible. Even if you have it on your website, do you have a media page? Do you have a media page that has photos and B-roll and other materials and bios of leadership, and high-res information with photo credits and such that media is free to download and use? If you do that and refer everybody to that page, I cannot tell you the time that will save. And I also cannot tell you how much how it will prevent any inaccuracies or assumptions or people grabbing from a website some terrible AI generated image of something, like, where did this come from? The more you can do now, the better you can prevent problems going on and keeping folks updated with regular information. Yes, please, a media page on the website. We can talk more about that later. Okay, next, board chair. Yeah. Ha! Okay. This could also be another sidebar conversation, I'm sure, but they need to be able to be informed in a way that they can keep the board updated. That is not necessarily your job. I will also say that they don't need to know everything. They may want to know everything, and they will at some point. But again, your job is to manage this inner core. The board chair's job is to address the board with really what they need to know at that point in time, right? And that will and it will be constant updates, but that you don't need board members contacting you. You need to keep this funneled that way, right? So you can protect your time, so you can do the things that are important. And also, yes, do remind board, as I would say to everybody, don't talk to the media. Don't, not even off the record, which we all know doesn't exist, but refer all those inquiries to the selected spokesperson. Yes, crisis manual. Basically, it's all the things that we're talking about here that are in the deck in some document. It doesn't even need a 3-ring binder with colored tabs. I mean, unless that's your jam, but just something very simple where they know exactly who's on the team, how they're going to reach folks, what is the media policy, where are the FAQs and the documents, and it's all there. So I don't want you to overthink this. I'm old enough. Remember, you guys, when I don't know, strategic planning, right? It was like almost entering into a fugue state, right? Where you had to be thinking and all the things and the big things, and it took whatever. No, it doesn't have to be like this. Just something simple that you can use in real time, that's accessible. And again, print it out and keep it handy. So the executive director is going to have a job to do. You're going to earn your money. Call that staff meeting. Explain what you know, explain what you don't know, and you're working on actively to get answers to those questions. Explain confidentiality issues, reminding people of their role. As much as in real time, everybody's freaking out a little bit, you have to remind them they still have a job to do. And it is a very important job to do, to remind people that they're holding the livelihood and the safety and security of the people they're serving in that real time, in that very moment. So remind them. Confidentiality is absolutely critical. Help address and anticipate and rumors and misinformation. And again, remind people how to information should be channeled to the spokesperson, and that there is a crisis response team. Identify who the members are, and they are actively working. Keep focused on what you need to do. Remind people on how information should flow, and let them know that you will be updating in a regular basis going forward. Just by sharing these simple things will calm the waters immeasurably. So this gets back to what we talked about, think preparation and helping prevent possible problems. If you have a media base, a media database, is it updated? Boy, people, people move around a lot. But if you, again, a dozen outlets, if nothing else, a dozen outlets. Who are these people, or who are the institutions? How can I reach them? Give them, just so you have that ready to go. Do you know the reporters that do cover your area of concern, and or have advocated on your behalf, or have a history, an institutional history with the organization, that can jump in quickly? Absolutely, I'm hoping, and this is actually not even around the crisis, but it's related to, do you meet with them? Do you invite them to open houses? Do you invite them to events? Do you keep them apprised of what's going on? How often are you sending media press releases out to them? In order for them to advocate and inform on your behalf, they need to be informed of what you are and what's going on in your world outside of the crisis, right? You don't want anyone suddenly going, wait, what, wait, so wait, what are you're doing now? Wait, you're doing something differently? Wait, what? No, this is about developing sustainable long-term relationships that when you need them in a crisis, they are there and ready to be there and be a resource for you. Okay. I call this feeding the beast. So it does no good to pretend it doesn't exist, because it does. The beast needs to be fed. But that doesn't mean you need to feed it bad information. And sometimes going a little hungry is just fine. They may need information, but that doesn't mean that you need to give them what you think is happening, or what you believe, or off the record or something. It is absolutely appropriate to say, we are in the process of trying to get further information, and when I know more, we're hoping to be able to announce a press conference, or a statement will be released to the public in the next hour. Stay tuned, something like that, and that's fine. You do not need to let them to give your control over to them. Don't give an exclusive. This is not the time. There's no need for any of that. No special treatment. Well, for you, I'll let you into the crisis meeting. Oh my God, please never do that. Don't let them go where first responders or others are on site, where they get some information that maybe you're not ready to have the bigger world hear about. They don't need special treatment. They really don't. This is when you really need to be in charge and in control. And you have that prepared statement. Yes. Do you all have a lawyer? Institutionally, do you have a lawyer? Do you have legal counsel that you can vet your language before you release any statement to the public? I will tell you, boy, I learned all about force majeure during COVID when I wrote 75, I'm exaggerating, press releases canceling seasons and productions and whatnot. And I can't tell you the number of times that every press release had to be vetted through several lawyers because of, unions, contracts, it's all the things, rightfully so. And we didn't want to set up anybody unintentionally for a problem or unintended consequence because of a word. Words matter. So whatever you do, please make sure that your statement to the public, all your statements to the public are vetted through your lawyer. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It could be, texting, this is what we're going to say. What do you think? And this lovely person, you see 3 minutes of their time. Yep, this is good to go, or nope, don't use that word, or whatever. It's all you need. Somebody to bless or just to vet it a little bit to make sure that you're good to go. And then, of course, have your collateral material available, the fact sheet, the history, FAQs, etc. Okay, media routed to the designated person. You need to return all media calls within 30 minutes, at least initially. And that does not mean that you're giving interviews. So here's a tip. When a media person calls and says, oh, we want to come and I've got a crew and we're on our way. Good for them. Doesn't mean you're ready. You can just say, well, what's your deadline? And they will say they'll have to come up with a deadline, but that's your social contract to say, well, it's really, 4:00 today. Okay, that's good to know. I'll call you back when I have more information to share. And that's fine. You do not, just because they call you doesn't mean you're actually calling and giving the interview in real time on the phone call back. You're not. You're still negotiating the terms of the future conversation, right? You have control. You have control. But I do think it also is respectful, again, feeding the beast, that they know that their query was heard and it is in the queue, and you're going to do what you can within reason to respond fully at a later time. And exactly, there's no innocent questions. How you feeling? Oh, this must be really tough. Are you okay? Yeah, right. Or just read the headline. What'd you think of that? No, you don't need to, they don't need to even go there. That's not, especially in these times. So anyway, enough said about that. So tell it all. This is a crystallized version, but it's parsing a little bit. When I say tell it all, I mean, don't hide from truths. I mean, if you know, you need to share what you know. You need to share what you don't know yet, and that you are working to find out what you don't know. You need to make that first statement within a within a short period of time. I will say the first hour or two, roughly. So people will know that they're being heard, that there's a recognition that the world has changed a little bit. We need to address this. And for the love of all things, please tell the truth. There's just tell the truth. Tell the truth and be empathetic, be sympathetic, and let them know that more information will be coming. So that's hoping this is a helpful way to think about it. You actually have more control than you think you do. So I use the word press conference. That's a little dated, but however you share information, even if it's press send, right, on a social media post or a press release, or it is in real time when you've got media on your doorstep, they all want a response. Just because they want one doesn't mean that you should have one until you're ready to have one. When and if you are facing the public, facing the media, I want to make sure, again, your control, that you're in a space that feels good for you. It's neutral. It doesn't signify anything, and that it's a space that you have some control over. All right. Yes. Please do consider a policy on photography and videography. You may already have one. You may be dealing with unions already about how media has to work within your space. You might want to refer to that and look at that. But I do absolutely believe that some policy that is understood can be that the spokesperson can use and the executive director can use in advance of folks coming. You just don't want anybody, especially on your private property, just whipping their phone around if they are part of the media, unless it's been approved. Anyway, yes, simulate, go for it. Go through the motions, walk through step by step of what this could happen, what that would look like. See what happens. Make it a Friday afternoon. All right, folks, let's do this. And then we'll all go out and get jalapeno poppers or whatever. But walk through it and just literally walk through it. Get out of your desk and move around and talk about what's next. So folks feel an immense sense of comfort going forward, know that they've done that. Also, when you are speaking to the media, acknowledge those partners who are with you in the trenches. It reminds people that you are a big institution. You are serving a big segment of the population of your community. You have other institutions, private or public, that are in support and working alongside with you. So I think you need to acknowledge them in whatever role they have in helping support as you're moving forward, and as a possible resource. I think it's a very helpful reminder for everybody, honestly. And somebody, I don't know who it is, somebody keep track of who's there. If there's a guest sign in, or they have to register online to do whatever, or something, any way that you can keep track of either at whatever event or any media over the course of the next few days or whatever come, or any visitors or guests, some way to track so you know who's been in your space or at the event or wherever you are. That can always be helpful in ways that I don't even want to really talk about, but I think we all know. So this is the spokesperson. This is what I talked about earlier. They need to have a solid backbone. They need to be comfortable. They need to be very clear about the North Star. They need to understand that their job is to support the institution and those that it's serving, and how the organization is working to address the crisis. You do not need to answer all the questions that come at you. You don't. Because otherwise, I've heard, you probably as well, that one of a journalist's best tricks is to say nothing, because they're counting on the person they're talking with, the interviewee, to be uncomfortable with the silence and just spatter out to fill in space and time. And that's when some things can often be shared that shouldn't be shared, or just the wrong information or whatever, because we get nervous and panic. Silence is okay. It's okay to say, I don't know. We're looking into it. It's really okay. You don't, yep, it's too early. We'll let you know as soon as we more. And please, no absolutes. This will never happen again. And it's just, that's all, man, in this day of Googling, that's all you need is you just, oh, never say never, right? Or this always happens, or just no, this is where we are. Yeah, this is really, again, part of the spokesperson's job, but this can fall on a lot of other people who are present for any interviews. What are they asking? What are they not asking? What are they missing, right? Are they focused on one little area and you're like, guys, this is the bigger question. We need to do that. This is very, very, very helpful. They are always looking for a face for the crisis, someone who's personally impacted by what's going on, being cognizant of that. You might want to think about what that could look like for you. And how, if their conversation and their questions are off, what you would consider off topic or certainly not helpful, then it's your job as a spokesperson to guide them. You do not have to answer the question that was asked. You do not have to answer the question that was asked. if you have a statement, if you have talking points about things that are important to you in the institution going forward, and they want to know about whatever, we heard there was a cat, whatever, I don't know. You can say we are not able to answer that is time, but and now I would like to be able to, boom, and then you take control. You do not have to answer the question that was asked. So that being said, then you might want to consider, depending on the situation, do you need a dedicated phone line? Do you need, in many institutions, you know, we have personal cell phones and work cell phones, and maybe that's enough to take care of it. But if it's clogging up your world and you're just getting just a hot mess of trying to stay in control of it, you might want to consider one phone number that people can call, and then that's the number that you give them. All right. So documents to create for before a crisis, during a crisis, and after a crisis. There is this document, you can print it out, whatever. It's again a checklist of things to think about in preparing your manual. And I think it could be extreme. I know it would be extremely helpful. Again, the more legwork you do now, the better off you're going to be during the time when you're deep in the trenches. And then afterwards, please do this. Please do this. Please follow up. Please debrief. Please get the people in a room, preferably off-site, where they can all take a deep breath and have a conversation. How did it go? What worked? What didn't? What did you learn? Who stood out? Who rose to the occasion? Right? Yes. Who needs to be acknowledged and paid tribute to? Who do you need to be able to highlight? And who do you maybe identify as somebody as a leader that you maybe didn't see? How did the communications go? Who worked, who in the media are folks you need to keep in touch with? And acknowledge, yeah, that was bad. That was not great. We were in the thick of it, and I could not, if I'm going to be in the middle of it, I could not think of better people to be around. You may be in a mess, but you're not alone. And I think that's a very helpful message to remind people. And then take that breath, assess your burnout, and then do the things that ground you to move forward. For me, and these are just suggestions, better social connection. Have you isolated yourself? Do you need to reach out to your lovely peers and dear old friends and family to just be and unwind? Do you need to readjust your priorities? Has your North Star changed? And do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So that being said, I think I'm done. Are we at the end point here, Kathy?
We are. We have 2 minutes left. And thank you, everyone. First of all, thank you, Ellen, for this wonderful presentation. It's so informative. So thank you so much, Ellen, for the presentation. And thank you for the folks that's on this call as well. Ellen, do you have any last word before I close?
No, if nothing else, you're not alone. There are so many of us out here trying to do good work. You're going to make me, you're not alone. You're doing good work. People are there to support you. Reach out to them. I am here for you. If I can help, let me know.
Have a wonderful rest of the Thursday. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you all. Thank you. My pleasure.